yeah, if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, yeah, so hi everyone, I'm James and I'm the president of Codelab.
Hi everyone, I'm Omid and I'm the VP of Technology for Codelab.
Hey guys, I'm Edward and I'm the VP of External for Codelab.
Hello, I'm Jennifer and I'm VP of Design for Codelab.
Hi everyone, I'm Selma, I'm the Operations Manager.
Hi everyone, I'm Ethan, I'm the head of finance.
Hey, my name is Bay and I'm a project coordinator at Codelab.
My name's Mintu. I'm also a project coordinator for Codelab.
I'm Lauren, the design education lead.
Hi, I'm Grisha and I'm the software education lead.
And we also have Professor Porquet, who's our faculty advisor, who's not here, but you guys might see him around throughout the term. Cool. I guess moving on to just what is Codelab. So to keep it simple, Codelab is pretty much a software development and design agency at UC Davis. And our goal is to work on impactful real-world projects, which include those in the tech industry, real tech startups. And what we want is we want to provide students with an opportunity to gain real-world experience that emulates the practices used in industry, so that they can come out of a term with important technical and soft skills that they can take away long after they graduate. And so moving on to a little bit about how we started. So we actually started a little over a year ago in the last academic school year in the fall quarter of 2020. And the reason why we started this organization is because we wanted a place where students can gain hands-on real-world experience, employ industry practices, and also work on large-scale projects. And there hasn't been an organization like this before. So the four of us, as you can see there, me, Edward, Omid, and Assam, we decided to start Codelab, and we've grown significantly over the past year. And so moving on to a little bit about our previous term in the fall of 2020. So this was our first in-person term since we started Codelab back when everything was still virtual on Zoom. And now we've kind of regressed back to being virtual on Zoom for now again. But during that term, we had 7 total projects with around 30 associates, 3 industry partners. And this was over a term of 6 weeks of agile design and development. And we ran this term as kind of a hybrid style with in-person general meetings, workshops, and events, and then a lot of online communication through Slack and Zoom for most other things. And I think later on in this presentation, we'll talk more about how we run things in person. And those are, of course, subject to the university guidelines and how the pandemic's running. Cool. And then so next, I think we'll show off some of our previous projects.
Yeah, so Aggie Explorer is one of our examples of our previous Spark projects that we completed. It's a full stack web application that displays grade distributions and waitlist statistics for upcoming classes. So if you're looking for or currently taking a class, you should definitely check out the statistics that we have. So just like the grade distribution, you can sort the classes by class name, professor, and its previous quarter. This is just another tool that Davis students can utilize in order to help decide their classes or give them a general idea of what it could be. So this is definitely worth checking out. So feel free, as I'll drop the link in the chat.
This past fall, we also worked with many industry clients, one of which was Jodical. So Jodical is a topic-focused social learning platform that allows users to create and learn from blog-style jots about various topics. And during the term, our team of designers and developers worked with Jodical to develop a KPI dashboard for them. And there's just a small snapshot of dashboard shown to the right.
All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the project structure and what like a term looks like in Codelab. So if you guys have already looked at the application, you guys will know that there's 3 different project types that we have here at Codelab. So there's industry projects, Spark projects, and Upkeep projects. So all of them are a little different, definitely kind of like, you know, based on what you know of each project, you can figure out what's best for you. So industry projects are projects that we work on with tech companies. These are geared towards students with a little more extensive programming or design experience. And then for those of you guys who might be still learning or just starting out on your computer science or design journey, we also have Spark projects. So Spark projects are smaller scale projects under the guidance of a project's mentor. So we have like a lot of board members within Codelab, as well as even just like the other students that are part of Codelab. We'll offer like a lot of mentorship and learning opportunities, so you can develop your skills and be ready to take on larger projects in the future, or work on industry projects in the future. Just starting from last term in fall 2021, we introduced a new type of project, which is the Upkeep projects. So the Upkeep projects are pretty similar to Spark projects in that they're in a big learning opportunity. So you can develop some like core skills when it comes to development and design. But these projects work on like expanding and optimizing existing projects. So at the moment, these are like previous Spark projects. So this is like a really, really great opportunity to kind of like work in more like dynamic environment, because when you think about it, if you're working in industry in the future, you're always going to be working on existing projects. You're pushing to existing code bases, or you're designing features for an already existing platform. So this offers an opportunity for you to like ideate on new features for projects, as well as get some experience in working on something that already exists. So when it comes to the team structure, so typically, depending on the needs of a project, teams consist of 4 to 6 associates, a mix of both designers and developers, as well as 1 project manager. When you're within this team, you're going to get a lot of support from board members to make sure you guys are able to learn the skills that you need to complete your project. Then you can see a little diagram on the right. You can see what the core team is, and depending on the team, typically it's like the Spark teams and the Upkeep teams. You also have like an assigned project mentor, which is a board member who will be there to answer any questions you have about tech or some of the design components. And there's also Omid, our VP Technology, and Jen, our VP of Design, that are always there available for questions and will offer support throughout the term. And finally, this is just what the project terms look like. So of course, right now we are recruiting for our winter spring 2022 term. So this winter spring 2022 term is about 15 weeks long, and we'll have a 1 to 2 week boot camp at the beginning of the term. And that's basically where we have like a fantastic set of design and development guides that were created by our board that will help you like learn the different tools and tech that you need to be successful in your project. And after that, we have 14 weeks of design and development that take place over the next 2 quarters. And just so you guys know, we also have a fall term every year. So the fall term's much shorter and much faster paced, but that's typically like a 6-week term with a 1-week boot camp and then 5 weeks of design and development.
So now we're going to go into a little bit of what like the term will look like this quarter and some of the socials. So we will be following the hybrid model, and as James and Edward did say, we will be remote until at least the end of January. And how the hybrid model worked last quarter was we were having in-person general meetings, and then also you would be having Zoom meetings with your team, as well as with your project mentors and some of us, to make sure that you're always staying on track and that you can always have us as a resource as well. And all the development and design can be done otherwise remotely. And it's definitely up to the discretion of the team, whether you guys want to meet in person and collaborate and get some hands-on paired programming practice, or just do it remotely and do some VS Code sharing. So yeah. And here is the fun part. We're going to be talking a little bit about the socials. So last term, we did have a couple of socials, which gives you the opportunity to meet some of us, as well as some of your other fellow coders and designers. Some of the socials for this quarter are game nights, boba runs, and more. And as you can see on the slide, here is the MU games night that we had, and also we had a scavenger hunt. So you will be able to see who is the best bowler or who wins the most money potentially. So.
All right, so you know what you guys are probably all here for is how can you get involved with Codelab? So this recruitment term, our theme is discover new destinations. So basically, the rationale around this is that you know, as you guys are working on your careers and going into probably like a tech industry in the future, whether you are a designer, a developer, or a project manager, there are always like so many different opportunities ahead, and we really want to like push you guys to try new things and learn new skills and like challenge yourself. And these are things you would be able to do as an associate in Codelab. And we really hope you guys will take this opportunity and apply to join our cohort. So this term we have three types of open positions, I mean. So these positions are for both winter and spring term. So as I mentioned, it's about a 15-week term over the 2 quarters. For project managers, we have openings for both industry and Spark projects. And then for developers and designers, we have openings for all teams. If you guys have taken a look at the application, you'll be able to indicate what your team preferences are or what teams you want to be considered for. Yeah, so and now Jen will tell you guys a little bit about the responsibilities for associates.
Yeah, so here's a deck that kind of lists out your commitments as an associate. Usually it's around 10 hours per week, depending on what project they end up working with, either Spark, Upkeep, or industry. Every week we do have meetings from 6 to 8, and essentially what we do is we kind of go over an agenda of what you need to do throughout the week with each of your teams. And also, but then the second half of that meeting is really up to you guys on how you want to spend it to work with the designers, the project managers, and the developers. Since you're already there and you're able to work in person, or at least in this case, over Zoom. And then you are expected to participate in the socials and workshops. So this way you can get to meet other people outside of your team and get to learn other skills that you might not know before, whether it be related to development or UI UX design. And we also have 2 presentations in this term. So we have a mid presentation where you kind of just show your progress to the rest of the cohort on what you've been working on the past term. And then the last one is the final presentation where you share with the clients as well, just like wrapping up the entire project. And everyone gets to contribute their time and ideas to their projects and get feedback. And lastly, there is a $35 membership fee that's due, and this fee is used back to you guys. So the socials that Selma plans out, the events, and even merchandise and other items is used for you guys. Yeah. And next. So here's the requirements for industry and Upkeep and Spark projects. So for the industry projects, students are usually have background in programming experience and are enrolled in ECS 36A or any other experience that's related to a larger scale project, whether it be industry project or Codelab project or a side passion project that you've done. And then for the requirements for Upkeep and Spark projects are for students that are currently enrolled in ECS 32A or anything equivalent to that, and just have any like programming experience that's beyond their coursework. It would be nice, but it's not a requirement. And then for the design requirements, so for those who are interested in applying for the industry projects and working with clients, you have experience working with Figma, Adobe Suite, or Microsoft Paint. but for Codelab, we will be working with the Figma program, and you have to complete a UI UX design project or anything that is related to the class DES 112, a side project, similar to the other requirements, industry project or passion project. And then for the Spark projects, you just need to have, again, experience with Figma and just any background experience that you've done, just making sure you understand that design process. And you don't really need to have a portfolio. You could even just have like a slide deck explaining your design background or case studies.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the actual application itself. So the full details for all this stuff can be found on our application's Notion page. We go into a lot of detail about exactly what we're looking for on there. But this is basically a short written application where we are trying to gauge and gather information about what your guys' experience levels look like, as well as why you are mainly interested in joining Codelab as an associate. And please don't just kind of knock this off and think that it's just like a small little information questionnaire. We do value these a lot, and they're very important to us, and they help us select people for our interviews, which is the next step of the application process. So shortly after you submit your application, which is due January 16th at 11:59 p.m., starting January 18th on a rolling basis, we will be offering interviews to select applicants. And again, these interviews are rolling, so you do not need to worry if you don't immediately get an offer. But these are non-technical in nature, so we're not going to ask you to show up and start coding something on the spot. This is meant to be a more conversational style of interview where we can learn a lot about you guys, and you will also have the opportunity to ask us any specific or personal questions that you may have. So now let's talk a little bit about what exactly we're looking to see from you on the application. So the three things that we're really looking for are A, strong collaboration skills, B, a demonstrated interest in UX design and or software development, depending on what you are applying for, and then C, a willingness to learn. And I would also say on a personal note, more importantly than anything, we want people with a willingness to learn. I think we really don't want people to be afraid about what they know right now and be afraid to apply or think that they won't get accepted because you don't know X, Y, or Z technology. In most of our personal experiences on the Codelab board, some of our best members in the past have been those who don't come in with the most experience off the bat, but rather those who have a really strong willing and desire to learn and want to pick up new technologies. And you can show and demonstrate to us in your application process that you really want to learn this stuff and that you have strong communication and collaboration skills. That's really what we're after. And lastly, we do also need a marketing lead. So Codelab is currently recruiting for that position as well. And this is a great opportunity if you guys are interested in joining our board. Applications for this are also accepted on a rolling basis. You can see the link right there if you guys want to check it out if you're interested. And in case you're worried about not being able to participate as a regular associate on any of the projects that we've talked about today, you can be both a board member and an associate at the same time, so long as you do have time. Many of us on the board have done this in the past, so it's perfectly okay if you're worried about that. As the marketing lead, your two responsibilities will be to generate awareness for Codelab and our projects. So for example, stuff that we produce like Aggie Explorer that Mintu was talking about earlier, we need someone to help us advertise all of our cool projects like that, as well as to just kind of help us get our name out there, advertise stuff like our application cycle and events just like these. And then you will also be responsible for creating design marketing assets like flyers and graphics, as well as for monitoring our social media in the process of doing so.
All right, so this is what the rest of our recruitment week looks like. Of course, you guys are at the info session right now. And our next event is Oh, the Places We Go. In other words, our professional night. So basically at that event on Thursday at the same time, you'll have the opportunity to hear from past Codelab members about what their experiences are and how that has helped contribute to like propelling their careers. Yeah, definitely we encourage you to attend that event as well. Especially because you'll get an opportunity to like chat with us again and learn more about Codelab. And of course, the applications are due this Sunday by 11:59. Just make sure you guys get those applications in on time. And within a few days after that, we'll begin our interviews, which last for about a week. So now we're gonna jump into questions. So first, we're just gonna take questions as a group. So if any of you guys have any general questions, whether it be about the application, details about how the term works, or just like individual questions for us, you guys can feel free to raise your hand on Zoom and ask. And then after there are no more questions with that, we're gonna break into a few breakout rooms, and you guys can freely like move between the different rooms and talk to our board members on a more like individual basis about anything at all, our experiences, or if you have any other more individual questions. So I'm gonna stop sharing for now, but yeah, feel free to raise your hand and ask questions. Yeah, Cody.
Hi. So you guys have like the industry projects and like the Spark project and Upkeep projects. So what are like the differences between those three, besides like the requirements?
Yeah, I can take this. So for the industry project, you'll actually be working directly with a real startup client. So we'll have like an actual company who you'll be communicating with a few points of contact with them on a weekly basis. And they're the actual ones designing the project with the end needs, and like they'll be the ones using it in the end. Spark projects are ones that we internally as a board create. But suffice it to say that like these are still useful projects that will be used mainly by people of the Davis community. So Aggie Explorer, for example, was a Spark project, ones that will still have real end users and still have like real goals. And then Upkeep projects, you are maintaining our past Spark projects and adding on to them. So like, for example, again, Aggie Explorer, like adding on new features, fixing past bugs, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and I see that Selena had a question. Is there an expected general timeline for the winter spring term? Like when are designers doing most of the work, and when would they hand it off to developers? Jen, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, I actually wasn't so sure if I should have typed in the chat. But basically, the designers are always going to be 2 steps ahead of the developers. So that way we have something in hand and to discuss and agree with both the project manager, developers, and also depending if you're working in the industry team. So if you're working with a client, then the design process is going to look different versus designers who are working on a Spark project, because then you'll have to be creating a design system and research from scratch. And so for client projects, usually what you have to do is have to go on meetings and do a design sprint process with the client, the project manager, and the developers, so that we can get everyone's thought process and ideas. And then from there, we can determine the schedule and design sprints that you need for that project specifically. And usually for a Spark project, we kind of go through a similar design process where we always start with research. And then we kind of go through the ideation phase, synthesis, prototyping, and so forth, and iteration. It is a longer term, so you guys have like a little bit more of a leeway, since we do have 2 terms to work on this. And there'll also be workshops in between each sprint, so that way we can help guide you and give further instructions on how to complete the sprints or the task that you need to do. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
All right, and then
yeah,
I see another question in the chat. How many client Spark Upkeep projects are running this cohort? So unfortunately, we don't disclose like the number of projects nor the number of slots available each term. But just know there's plenty of spaces within the Codelab cohort and plenty of opportunities to go around. And of course, we'll take the time to review every application, and well, you're going to get an offer if we find a fit for you. Yeah, is it Lana?
Yeah, it's Lana. So if we were to apply for a specific project type, like say industry, is there a chance that we would be assigned to another type of project like Spark or Upkeep? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so on the application, you're going to be able to indicate which projects you're interested in, and also of the projects that you want to be considered for at all, like which one would be your preference. So you can apply to like one type of project or all three if you want.
Well, thank you.
Someone else in the chat had a question.
Yeah.
Grandhar, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. Can we apply to both project manager and developer roles?
Yeah, the answer is yes, you can apply for both. And if you do, when we interview you, we'll discuss like if there's a preference. And of course, like based on the interview, we'll match you with the best team and the best role that we see would be a best fit for you.
Yeah, and something to add to that is, so if you are interested in applying to both, you don't fill out both applications, just fill out the project manager application. And within the project manager application, there is a question that asks you if you want to be considered for the developer positions as well. So Brian has a question: how flexible are the weekly meetings and assignments, for example, during midterms and finals?
Yeah, so you're expected to attend pretty much like all the weekly meetings, assignments, events that we have. But obviously, like if there's a critical like midterm or final that you have to attend, or like a personal emergency that you have to attend, of course, like we'll be flexible with that. But in general, unless it's really something super urgent, you're expected to attend every meeting.
And also to
also-
add on to that, oh, sorry.
Oh,
I think we're all
no,
gonna
it's
say the
okay.
same thing, but yeah.
Go ahead.
During finals week, we actually do have like the week off, so don't worry, we give you time to like study. And spring break is also, you aren't expected to develop or work. So we'll take that into consideration, so don't worry too much about that.
And I will also add on for the assignments part of your question. Sorry, the actual like assignments and workload that you're given out, it is variable based on the week. So your project manager, like obviously we are all students, and they will take into account that even though the average is 10+ hours per week that we do expect from you, like we totally understand that, you know, one week you might have like nothing really due, so you can take on extra work. And then some weeks you might have a bit extra of a school workload, so you might need to slightly decrease that. That 10+ was more of an average than you have to put in 10 every single week.